Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, covering Season 65, 5 versus 5 Grand Arena Championship, Week 1. I am joined by my regular co-hosts, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, a red letter week. Granted, I had a freebie, round 1, had an Erodium, didn't learn much going into round 2 versus Arsenal, but I made it out with a W from that, and got a repeat against Barator in round 3, so I had a 3-0. Dagger, how'd you do?
I went 2-1. I lost around to Fleet, and I'd like to thank you for having me on the last plotting and scheming that we ever have.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
For the record, we're recording this on April 1st. For those who aren't aware.
Yeah, I assumed it was something I was missing. I was just going to let it wash over me like a wave, but
Sorry,
I feel cleaner now, so it's good.
Somebody had to make the joke.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Did
yeah,
they?
you and the Relic 10s with you.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I want Relic 10 so bad, man. This meta needs a shift so bad, and I bet R10 would be just amazing at just ripping the meta apart.
Yeah,
because see. It's like, if it benefited like attackers or something, it's like, oh my, like attackers are just like, I guess we're R9ing them for 200 offense, guys.
I just want the 7-dot mods to drop. I do not have an alternative agenda.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I'm also with that. Anything to shift the meta even a little bit, man.
Okay. All right.
I want ship datacrons. I figure we're just gonna all start talking negative, Nancy. So
I would love ship datacrons or ship mods. Anything to allow me to change the speed orders of my fleet and maybe change something.
To make ships actually an interactive game mode?
Yeah, as opposed to this like PvE solitaire game mode where like if I fail my Empire versus Profundity and you don't fail yours, I lose.
So now we've moved from the horror stories to just our wish list. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just Christmas need to be a meaningful part of GAC.
Anyways, moving to our next member of the panel, TJ.
Oh, hi.
How was your week, sir?
It's 2-1. I'm not gonna complain. I was walking into round 3 with dread because it was like such a whatever. But then after you and I talked, Tass, and we'll talk about it. That round 3 for me was super eventful. Based on what I found. So I'm actually excited to talk about the week and what I think the season is going to be now.
Okay, nice. All right, Sasha Aisha, how was your week?
Good. I had multiple real matches. I went 3-0. So yeah, it was fun. I had a good match against a friend of the show, Brilliant Zid. So that was a good one. And then I had a match with my weekly match with Aesop. So yeah, it was fun.
All right. And
Fatal. Yes, you're showing us that he's fighting Zid. When you said friend of the show, he went to his GAC screen.
Yeah, I got Zid for round 1. By the way, spoiler, folks. At long last, your boy has clawed and scrabbled and scraped his way back up to the top bracket. It's been like a year.
No April Fools, man. No April Fools.
No jokes.
Tass
no
back
games.
To the show, and you can see a Sasha Tass fight. This is the real deal, guys.
I look forward to just staring you right in the eyes and saying, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid," and then say, "Ho, ho, ho." I don't know if anybody remembers that reference, but
absolutely love that reference. Thank you. Don't age me.
But yeah, I used to allow you to call me old, so I'm going to say I don't know what you're talking about.
a well and orderly transitioned introductory sequence. Sorry, what was that?
This podcast sponsored by TBS.
Fantastic. Well, Fatal. TBS aside, how was your week?
2-1, and I think could strongly argue that it should have been a 3-0, but I don't know, man. It was the first round. I wasn't on my A game, but like it all could have just been prevented if I just was using a match planner. I was just spaced the fuck out and kept on scrolling past Darth Bane and other like powerful teams looking for ways to clear.
Got it.
Yeah, that was not my best performance, but I didn't get cleared all 3 rounds. So
that's awesome.
My lesson is use Darth Bane if you're looking to clear. If you're in a clear to win situation, you should probably use that guy.
I don't know. I hear he's like magma cheese.
I still have not used that once. I actually probably could have used that too, but it just doesn't exist in my brain. So
I actually put all the effort into remodding that team, which is a lot more difficult when everything's R9. Or it took like an actual amount of like testing with the Datacron and remodding a few times to get the sortie thing set up. But yay, I guess. That's half armor left. I won't get
You
back.
set up something that you'll never use, but it
Yeah,
looks cool on
exactly,
paper.
All right. Well, guys, sounds like it was a good week. Let's jump into the details here. A busy agenda. First up, meta-analysis. So, Tales of Woe and Valor against a bunch of interesting teams. Let's first talk about Balin on defense. So, I encountered him just once, one real round, round 3. I'd heard tell that Jabba was kind of a slam dunk, and there must be conditions to it. Or maybe I butchered the fight. I think I have the fight right here. I want you guys to have a look at it. But I heard that this was a dunk, and then it was not. And then I took it out with Slacker easily afterwards. But yeah, have a watch. So I'm thinking probably get this, buff immunity out. I haven't been hit with any heavy debuffs where it's like I should dispel. Do that. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, I get rid of that. Buff up. Boom. All right. So, yeah. So I think we can all agree there was a lot of counterplay and opportunity to have strategized differently.
I knew this was coming because he already told me this. I will say that if this is something you are planning to do, whatever your Hut Trot Elkron you were going to take against this was not the one you should take. Not you specifically.
Sure.
I'm saying that if you're going to take this fight, I feel like the only mechanic that matters is how much bulk can you jam on your team.
I think that's good.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, treat it like almost like a JML fight. Like, what's the most or whatever health you can add or aggregate survivability you can add? Because I also watched somebody get 2 sides just, what's her name, did her push, and it's like, all right, I'm really glad that you did. Wait, is this 3v5? Did I start this 3v5?
I do want to know if that would change if you were doing maybe the Cadcron. Or if you were doing, and again, I would call that the better one, and I know Dagger's been calling it like.
I looked at the data for patterns on it, and I saw like a Mob Enforcer cron, a CAD
well,
cron,
this is why I'm asking, right?
I got you, Tess. I got you. Light side bulk with Scando and Boosh, because Crusader and Job aren't going to die to that. Or if they do, Crusader's going to come
That's a
back.
good call too. That's
Maybe
what
that's
I wanted to ask, just from the point of the fight and how fast it was swapped over to being underdogged.
Also, it might just be that the call the mass assist is the calling the mass assist might be better off rip, because it allows you to target one person and put a bunch of thermals on them with Boosh Basic. So that way, when you do Boosh's bomb, you might actually kill somebody.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What you showed us was a definitive go fuck yourself. So I'm like, I don't have a good answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm open to maybe the middle. Maybe. I mean, certainly what I did didn't work, so you've got me there.
So
yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, sorry,
a couple of things. Just
Please.
no, I was in taking on that Balin squad. I saw. I think I saw it twice, but like I went to Bane, and Bane ended up being a very quick and easy solution. Although the numbers kind of bear out that there's definitely risk involved with it. But Bane was the option that I went with. The fascinating thing that I started to see as I dug around a bit in the data during lunch today was that the Gungans do well against Balin, and not necessarily. In fact, the data is at its worst when it's against the 2 Bad Batch mercs as the 4th and 5th. But Gungans on offense, like they're for a while we were kind of lamenting their like loss of relevance, and boy, they're back, baby. There are a number of appealing targets for Gungans right now, but Balin's certainly one of them.
Yeah, I've seen that the win percentage is not that high on it, so I think like well-qualified applicants only need apply on that fight is what I kind of feel.
I stuff like you can lose that.
I've been doing. Yes, you can. I've I've been doing that fight for a while now. I would definitely say you are liable for your own progress.
Right.
I had Afterthought Gungans, and I actually was able to still win sometimes with Afterthought Gungans, but pretty quickly realized a couple months ago that like, hey, this is some real shit. You're going to be doing this a lot probably. You're going to see a lot of Balin, and I juiced up Tarpoles and Boomidir, and you will feel the difference, and it'll help you a lot. I have had some Balin fights where I do Boomidir AoE, and they just all fucking die.
And when you say juice it up, what was your focus for the two?
Crit damage, offense, crit chance. I know that some of them have like true damage only moves, but you still want the full package to be able to contribute. And I have specialized mods that can do both for you, essentially. So,
and I just want to call it out that there is varying levels of Balin team. Not one is each like the other. So just be aware of that. That's why I don't like. That is a high variable in my opinion. I didn't play with it. I did SLKR all week, and I did not chance it because there's turn meter starting, and if you let them go, you are screwed. So I didn't play with it. And each time it's like, I don't have to worry about what task happened or the Jabas that could do the stop it. Don't let it do it because of how Tash just showed you how bad it can go and how fast it can be. I watched nothing but horror stories, and I had to experience none of it because SLKR just says, we'll stop that with Hux. I don't even know how many you need. I just took my 65s and called it a day. But it was like, to me, that was the greatest usage of I don't have to worry about a Balin team, and I don't have to worry about variability because you're stopped, and the fight's over.
I will say, SLK on defense is a pretty massive pillar, I feel like, right now.
What do you think the attributes are to a successful defense? Because I've heard just, JML's clearing it, Bane's clearing it. So what do you think is separating the wheat from the chaff last week?
I mean, Darkside Bullcron is gone, so it's really just a question of how your modding is.
I failed it because I'm a dipshit, and I led with the push, and then Slacker stabbed, and I died.
JMK is literally, I can't see any point of failing because you're working on a bulk team that JMK doesn't just trump all. JMK has no good use right now, except it'll handily take care of any SLK you want to put because there's no bulk on one side and there is on the other. And when you drop them, and I'm telling you, I did variations of it, and it's an easy fight, and JMK has a calling right now. So that's where it's, to me, SLK has a good place because it'll able to do things, and no form of SLK that I've seen or you can put is going to handily stop a JMK with bulk. And if you have Catcron, it just
and with Jabba being pulled off defense, there's not really like a safety valve reason you really need it. So if your opponent sets Slacker, you're like, cool, I have the answer. And if they don't set Slacker, you're like, all right, cool. Let me just overkill this other random team.
Yeah.
At this point, I think we're just talking about playstyle differences because all the teams that you guys are mentioning is teams that I'm posting.
I guess so. Let me just say, like, Afra is like eating up a lot of Jabbas that I've seen, and I've seen it with multiple different Datacron comps. Yeah. You can watch it on Tass's stream where I have my team modded incorrect. A, my team's modded incorrectly. B, I took Darth Vader instead of a 5th droid, and I didn't have the right L6 on my Datacron, and I still just walked it.
And I was trying different things and watching different fights, and it didn't matter. People were doing HK Cron, still working. IPD Cron, still working.
I took HK with the HK Cron, and HK Tass was there. He threw his bombs on just Jabba and Chrysanthemum.
I don't know if
I've not seen the same stuff. I don't know
if I'm fully batting for Jabba defense. I'm still messing around with it.
But that should be something we talk really about. Thanks.
If we're going to talk about Jabba, I just want to say I was talking with some people on Fatal's server, and there's a Dark Side level 3 that says whenever you take damage from a health percent effect, you gain 2 life or gain 2% health. And I don't know if Night Sisters can actually kill a Jabba with that on it.
You deal 5% and they heal 2%.
You don't deal 5% to Jabba himself.
Oh, you're talking about the...
Yeah, I'm talking about Jabba himself at the end. You'll time out.
If you have Asajj Omicron and you know that you're in a sustained situation, sometime in the past 3 months, there was another Datacron that threatened something similar. If the Night Sister player knows to play for Asajj and to try to get Asajj up and cycle it and then go infinite, you are able to get it out. I have been able to get there before, but it does put the nicest player in a situation where they can lose. Like, even if they know what's going on, they know what they need to do, they might not be able to hit it, so that's pressure off the top. And then a lot of people don't really know what they're doing playing Nicer, so that's extra pressure as well.
Yeah, so greatly threatens it. If it doesn't outright block it, it greatly threatens it. So,
well, knowing that it exists made it really easy for me to put Marin on Great Mothers on defense. I know I'm pivoting all over the place here. I'm just saying, like, just knowing that made it really easy for me to just slap Marin down if I'm not
Agreed.
even.
All right.
Gonna
Well,
try.
There's a lot of moving parts this season, so like bouncing around seems kind of natural here, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
we actually have a long topic list as far as meta teams to cover because, I mean, to your point, there's actually a lot.
Yeah, this week one was amazing. I had so much fun. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but this was a ton of fun.
I turned the leaf because of talking to Tass, and I know, like I said, that talk to Tass in my round 3 really changed and opened my eyes to what I think this season is going to be. So I'm in a better spot than I was. I was really down after fighting Taro and losing. He got more 63s than me, so he wins the fight. I brought it to ships, blah blah blah. Then we talked to Tass, and I think to what Tass did and what Dagger, Tass, and I talked about extensively during the week about the right defense. Doing a lot of the work that to me it was evident on Tass's streams, and then also me swapping things up really hammered home what I saw in my round 3. So I know there's more to come on it, but yes, I'm in a much better
we'll get
place.
the details from you and your favorite attack and defense of the week. We'll get that out of you.
And to Fatal's previous point, I'm inclined to just keep posting SOK until my opponents prove they can beat it consistently for good banners.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm with Fatal on this one. I think he is. I think people forget how to do that fight to a degree because Dre does change it a little bit, and and evidence being, I fucked it up this week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I led with push, and I still kind of sort of was able to do stuff, and I knew immediately that I fucked up when I did it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Also, don't take JKR like a dipshit like I did because he'll be hard to focus.
Oh yeah, and the one fight. I mean, I know we weren't really planning on talking about Slacker, but just on this last note is I did do a Bane versus Slacker and succeeded once and failed once, I think.
Yep.
But the fail was I did third. A whole bunch of people were very damaged, but nobody died. They smacked the crap out of my side tune and it died, and then Bane got another turn, and then I did third again, whereas I should have done middle. They had a mess of buffs. I thought the third was going to do the job, but looking back on it, with all the buffs they had, and I have the Omicron, like, yeah, I probably would have killed all the sides, as opposed to killing absolutely no one with that second use of the third, which was shocking to me, because it was like 200% armor penetration cron. Anyway, I was very surprised. But then, the next fight was just a dunk.
I will say that Bane plus Bane looks reasonable versus the what do you call it, versus the Balin Mercs. It's about 80% when I did all my filters for like minimum relics and Kyber 1. 78.95. I think that's good enough for me to earmark it, considering when I look at any other counter, it's pretty much sub 50%.
Fair.
Reva's 3%. Like, yeah. The one thing I wanted to bring up here
you just one thing you wanted to bring up here. We have a whole bunch of stuff.
Sorry.
Back on topic.
Sorry. But it's related to the fucking Balin. I don't know if it was actually on the list. I didn't read it. I just hopped in, so I don't know what our agenda is. But how did we feel about the new Bad Batch team?
I've got topics for that. I actually have a good thing that I want to discuss on that. But
go for it.
And then after we discuss that, I want to talk about whether or not you think it's worth splitting the team up. Teams or just
actually, because of what we talked about, it goes to my week 3. But I don't know where you want to do it at, Tass, and I don't want to steal. I want to keep on focus, Tass. I don't want to be the ADHD guy. So
I do want to talk about the Bad Batch team, but before we do that here, a brief mention on Jabba. I saved it for offense both rounds and found profitable use to it. I do have half a mind to set it on defense just because I've got such high native tenacity on Jabba and Chrysanthemum and a huge tenacity Hut Cartel Crom besides. There was nothing that I used it to kill that I couldn't have otherwise found a way around. So I did not feel like I had a huge calling for it on offense, but I accept that it's not great on defense because I've been beating them with Afra. Others have been, to say nothing of, Night Sister's still working. What you guys got on that, on Jabba?
Afra it every time I saw it.
Right. It's Go ahead, Sasha.
No, go ahead, TJ. I'll go after you.
No, I want to hear what you have to say because your fight is a different one.
Sure. Yeah. These were data points against all R9 stuff, but they were. I brought LV Maul, Thrawn, RG, and Piet, and just kind of blasted through everything. And I found that Hut Cartel 6 kind of an optimized Jabba squad wasn't an issue.
I don't know if there is a such thing in fives right now as a thing called optimized. And that's my problem of a concern, is that no matter the Aesop cron, the Sasha cron, I have tweaked every little character that's R9 with a la dagger, and now I have 200% tenacity on top of it. Stops where, I didn't get to land anything, but I'm still going to take my 60 or 59 or whatever, and it's fine for this team. But I also, to your point, Cass, if you can find the right calling for offense, I would not call it the Balin because I've seen the horror story and I still think that's a Gungan level. You can still fail, but if you can find a good team like it's your Queen Killer or it's like one of these key defensive teams, that to me starts to call the point of, I'm not going to let you just kill it with my Afra no matter what I do. I'll go kill your good Queen team. Or one of these high B teams. That's what I want to see if there's any digging. That's why I asked about, that's cool with the idea that Dagger brought up about doing the light side bulk setup or whatever it is, right? And having the light side characters because then your people are safe. That's cool. That can be done because we do have some things like that. That's a good calling to me.
Okay. Any other notes there on Jabba? All right. Next
It
item.
might just be posted top front for me next week if I can't think of a relevant trade, because at least it's get your 61 with Afra here. At least it's -4 banners.
Mm-hmm. Fair. That's fair. All right. Now, TJ, we are now at the Fugitive Omega team. So,
okay.
Sound off. What you got?
All right. Go to my. I know we won't do this. Go to my round 3.
This is fine.
You gave me the topic. We talked about it. And it was either Fatal, who has a lot to say about
you
the team.
Attacking it, or are you showing me it on
defending, setting it. I want you to look at my defense.
Sure, yeah.
We had the question of Batcher, and I think it was Dagger or it was Fatal who talked about, does it become the right fifth? And I told Tass, you know what? I'm going to swap this out. I want to try this.
Mm-hmm.
I threw in Bad Batch Echo. Look at the teams of what it does and look at where it holds. And it's like, they use this. And I'm like, look at my defense. My defense said, fuck you and what you thought you were taking with the one change. Does Batcher become the weakest character on the team? And do we play the game of, because I faced a standard Omega as the 5th character in place of Batcher, and that was a good team. But I'm like, Bad Batch Echo, man, we've talked about it before. I think there's something here to the merit of it. And I really do feel like playing with the construct of the 5, I like this, and I don't think every fight is the same.
Well, I like this here, this specifically, because I've seen somebody manage to clear mine that has Batcher in it with Afra, with, I want to say, a couple characters down. It wasn't clean, but it was doable. Whereas, they did survive when they attacked mine. This one wiped out.
This isn't an original thought that I had. I am 100% sure. I'm 100% copying to the. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had this thought. But I remember bringing this up to TJ and Task because I used this team in Conquest to do some stuff, and I'm just like, Batcher just doesn't feel like he adds a ton. So I started trying other Bad Batch characters, and Echo and old school Omega definitely felt better when you were trying to execute with the team on offense. I can't speak for it in GAC with the Omis or how it interacts on defense, but I did posit that to the group here that I thought that either one of those might be better than Batcher.
And that's what I took it away. And I would want to hear Fatal Thought as somebody who's more invested with the actual individual, like the individual characters, the kits, and then the team as a whole. But this was really telling to me of just making one small tweak really fucked with who I was facing. And I'm not saying it's the best thing. I'm not calling it like there's a better option. And it's like you should be putting a properly modded Badger back in and taking out said character. But this was cool to see. And that's why I said playing with the fight changed the question. And then changing the question, they had a 6-shot my Fomega team. And that, when you ask me, is like Balin or this, I'll go this because I'm now really fucking with a total construct. And there's a data crown that tops with it.
Okay. Good stuff. Any other notes there on new Bad Batch team?
You can. I have defense. I have that posted on defense if you want to see more.
Please, would love to. Where are we going to?
Match one, it just got Bam Sonod, but 2 and 3.
Oh,
Fatal,
okay.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on like the original Wrecker there, because the concept of like dual, particularly R9 tanks in that squad with the mechanics sounds super appealing versus like the old Omega or keeping Hunter in it at the sacrifice to the Merc squad. What are your thoughts on those options under Fugitive Omega?
Yeah, so this week I ran double Wrecker. And specifically, one thing that I would note just right off the bat that I think is a little bit small and a little bit adorable, but it is kind of the dynamic here is, so if you know Echo's unique, you know that you heal when a Bad Batch member gives a clone trooper member a buff. And that counts for target practice. So basically what I'm trying to do with this team to some degree is I was actually just staking out a gamble that they weren't going to use a GL on it, but also knowing full damn well that I had a defense backing that if they were going to use a GL on it, they were going to regret it in approximately 40 minutes. So, like, to answer y'all's question, I don't think that there is a right or wrong answer. You're really just changing the texture of the squad. I do like Echo here defensively just because, we have a team that's hyper reactive and it's oftentimes just a question of what are you going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
The choice between Wrecker 1, Wrecker 2, or both is tough. I do like Omega here. I really... Sorry, I'm a little bit sick.
Doing all right.
I do think that, like, this team specifically that you're seeing right now is not actually that great at cycling Crosshair. I might specifically swap over to Ampbag just to get a little bit more guaranteed.
That's a good idea.
Stack attrition. Ampbag I play around with a lot in Squad Arena. People associate Lightside Ampbag with Zori, but I would really say you should slot in Bad Batch 2 alongside that just in terms of how rapidly it can cycle your Crosshair into coming online.
I want to call out how good this is to what Fatal's talking about, because the question of where do your mercs go is answered by what Fatal has done by
Also,
doing
really
the setup. That's awesome.
Also, really quick on this, looking at the data, if we extol Balin, coin flip, Bow, coin flip, nothing better than 60% that's not a GL.
I'll tell you what I did use, and I talked to Tass about it.
That's not true. Gas, I guess, is 3 out of 4.
So, but I'll tell you what I worked in it. So I would want to ask what Fatal thinks about this, but what I took was janky Sir Malicos. And I call it janky because I was like, I'll pull all the pieces. Cal had a higher calling with Ray this week. I took CLS with CLS Cron on my Malicos team, and I felt fine the entire time on variations. Now, again, that's where I'm at. That's not saying I'm fighting Sasha's level. I'm not fighting where Tass is at. I'm not fighting Fatals.
I'm simply looking at the data, so I definitely get that.
That's what my question would be is like, I never felt like anything you could do could stop Seer. And again, that's a great pull, and you're using my Seer. I wasn't fucking with the team because they were dangerous and I knew they were going to be. So Seer felt good in that no matter what you do, if you taunt and you try to attack somebody and all that, they're going right through it. And then it did take me a little bit. And I will call that out. I was thinking 3 to 4 minutes or whatever in, but I still walked away with good banners and a good assessment of the team, no matter what they would try to do.
General Skywalker is my more immediate concern. Seer feeling good there is kind of by design.
Right.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, at least it's good to know that
Yeah.
it takes
So-
something of the likes of Seer that's not a
I'll specifically,
geology.
for context, my Bad Batch was sitting bottom front wall, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, this is
my
nice.
follow up to this conversation is, how do we feel about putting the two new mercenaries on Balin? Because Tass watched me do it like twice, basically. Just Balin plus scraps versus the very best Ray team you can offer is relatively easy right now.
That's what I did.
So, yeah,
It
so
was
just
to the point. Yeah.
having kind of a dunk on Ray means that like your Star Killer has the ability to flex out. Plus, I saw Fatal posted. I've really loved posting Seer on defense with Maul. It's been I think I only had one opponent that actually fought it, but looking at other people who've posted it, it looks very relatively prohibitive to what Fatal was saying. If you can set teams up front that people would just prefer to GL, it takes away a lot of options that they could have for the back wall.
all 3 rounds did exactly what you see in that image, where they took a 53 with Sith the Turtle Emperor, which I thought was like that is banner bleed to the point where it's practically a hold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, just to go back to the Gungans relevance.
Yeah.
Gungans against Seer, ATF, Maul, Malicos, and crew were 2 for 2.
That's good to know.
That's
See
a
that
value
is
buy.
that is a great value because it goes to what I was talking about with the defense. So if you're telling me Gungans are topping what I would call one of the top teams this week for
Mhm.
defense, that's money.
I don't know how reliable it is, but I will say I've taken it against Seer, Malicos, ATF, crew, and something other than Maul. And Maul definitely adds to like the threat of that squad. Don't get me wrong, but I took it against Seer and the rest of it, and had it work like the previous season.
Okay.
This time, I think it killed Malicos and something else. But anyway, just dropping that Gungan's hanging on for some relevance there, man.
Oh, thank you. That's a good addition.
Gungans will always sort of exist in the okay, your main game plan is damage. Okay, we're going to contest you on that front and try to take you down before it blows up.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, next topic on the list. This one we probably don't have a lot new on, but Great Mothers. I've seen folks get through it with Malgus. I've seen some folks fail with Malgus. I still think that if you're confident in your Afra versus Jabba, there's still a strong role for Marin there to impede Malgus, especially if the Kron that you're setting still has bulk on it. Then even more so. I had an opponent. Usually, you're able to have everybody survive using Lord Vader versus Great Mothers. Uh, Maybe you just lose one character, but I had an opponent get like a 53, just like this Sith Eternal thing here. So Great Mothers felt great on defense. The Saw, I kept Saw for offense against Queen. So yeah, Great Mothers was my offensive answer to Queen last season. Really enjoyed rotating Saw to offense, so that's why I was able to afford Great
Yeah.
Mothers down, and I didn't really have any trouble with the ones that I encountered. So any notes you guys had on fighting Great Mothers, using Great Mothers?
You mean mirrors? No, I mean, I'd choose Malgus. A little dicier versus Marin, but
Mhm.
when I say dicier, I mean like the fight takes longer.
Mhm.
And the one I did on stream, that was an R7, whatever, so just got to chew through the tank really quick. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a solid defensive team. I think one of the bigger problems is that Malgus kills so much. Like I'm looking at what Malgus is killing this season, and it's killing like some of the Seer teams, some of the Omega teams. I don't know. It seems like another one of those flexible teams that I think this season might go up alongside, maybe probably slightly worse than, but alongside Balin and Bo as far as just Swiss Army knives.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think making your opponent use Balin takes a flexible option off the table.
I do think there's what I would call Great Mothers proper. Fatal called it out in one of his streams. I thought it was really relevant, and it is with the Marin setup. And I do think it is the Marin with and so no Night Sisters doing your job, and Marin goes there with the DTP and the Spirit. Feels like the most optimal. So I would call it the most proper Great Mothers because it did God's work in my opinion. Where I didn't have to do JMK versus, let's say, an SLK or something else, JMK went on to the mothers. And even that was beating my team up because it still does work, but I wanted something I knew was going to do well. So
it's the protection region. I talked about it when Marin first came out. That Marin had a lot of shiny shit going on, but that protection clause was deeply fucked up. And here we are now, where we have a nice sister team that is very interested in dragging the fight out. And I'm fucking struggling here because it would do a great ease to me if I can get great mothers off of defense and replay Marin.
Yes.
And it's like I can't it is strictly worse if I take Marin off of this. The only hope would be like some massive protection crowd and then just be like, all right, well, you're not getting regen, but I gave you a little bit extra to start the fight off with. Bye.
But that's what I said. And then I watched you, Fatal, come up and saw the person like, oh, they set the good setup for, and you specifically called it out. And like, yeah, that's the money shot. That's what I'm seeing. And that's what it feels like to me is when you put the proper one there, you're in for a world of hurt that may not work out. And I think there are good pieces in the Datacrons right now that play with the fight as well. And yes, bulk is there. But they don't really need to rely on bulk because they'll just do some of the biggest slams that you won't expect, and it will still be standing there strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at this point, until there's something cheaper, you're basically posting Great Mothers to be like, all right, are you going to Amalgus this successfully? Right. Check yes, or check no.
Fair. Any other notes?
Sorry, I juiced my spirit up. So my opponents did, for the most part, do pretty decently against my Great Mothers. Like there was a fight where Malgus died, but they still won in 4 minutes. There was a fight where they did Bo-Katan, which I also did this week and went pretty okay. So right now I'm at a crossroads between. I guess I'd be curious to ask on if any of you are holding Great Mothers and how you're using it, because right now I have Balin on offense and Great Mothers on defense. And if I could get Great Mothers offense and Balin on defense, I think I would be stronger. But Balin is doing some crucial work that I don't know could be replaced right now.
I don't know if you can swap that.
Well, that's the way to approach
Balin
it.
On offense,
yeah,
because he doesn't need much for his highest calling. Sorry. I also have no desire to pull Great Mothers off because I have better counters to QA like Saw.
Yeah.
So what is it, Fatal, that you think that Balin's been so key for on offense that you feel is kind of irreplaceable?
I almost don't want to say it because this whole entire season I know how an opponent could immediately checkmate me, and I almost don't want to will it into existence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess the biggest thing for me is double Ahsoka is kind of a problem for me right now.
Uh-huh.
Is what it boils down to.
So double Ahsoka is a problem for your Balin, because I thought that was one of her more favorable, his favorable matchups when she's there.
I'm saying my Balin is parked on offense because if I don't have Balin, I'm not sure that I will survive the GAC.
Yeah.
I guess the double Ahsoka squad.
That is a great mother option.
You're talking about Rey Fulcrum stuff.
I've taken Great Mothers against full Monty, double with ATF Kron, Ahsoka, and it is rough. But I one shot against Aesop's. This is last season that I did it.
If I can hit that, I juice the fuck out of my spirit for the one shot. That is kind of what I'm gunning for right now. If I could minus Great Mothers plus Balin on defense.
But I'm just gonna echo Fatal's point that was the break glass for me, where it was like Dagger's keeping, like he said, janky Balin team, and it's taking out Zed, blah blah blah. It's holding there. It will take out the Ahsoka and do the dirt there. Those are two big flexes that I would agree. If you can do the mothers, that's the idea, is that what you have to kill the mothers is very limited, right? It's a very narrow margin of you can use this team or this team, and both can still have a chance to fail. But I understand it. But it's like when Sasha says, I was able to do this against Aesop, that is one. Let me comment this. This is
let me
Sasha.
double check. Let me double check because I
This
want to
is
make
my
sure it's
thing.
not threes I'm thinking of. So
But the-
I'll look Fatal and I'll circle
I
back.
saw it happen. I will say I did
Yeah,
see somebody else do it.
Yeah, I mean, like I would love to post Balin on defense. I mean, I
Yep.
don't set as heavy as Fatal, but I would love for an opportunity to set Balin on defense. But the fact that you can 3 people plus 2 bodies, any version of
Yeah.
Rey or any version of Ahsoka,
Yeah.
just kind of makes it really hard for you to justify setting
Yes.
it. So I definitely like if Great Mothers can take out Ahsoka, I guess Leia can take out most versions of Rey.
That
Yeah.
is your. Can you answer that question? And if it fails, then what?
Yeah.
So yeah, it goes to the can versus will reliably,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
where and I mean, Fatal's thinking about it the right way. It's like I mean, if you know that's a leg you need to stand on, do you really want it to be that shaky? So I'm going through to try and find it, Fatal. I'm not seeing it, but
That was my question to Tass. It's like that's where I said Tass had the sweet spot in my opinion for this week. Where for me it was like I don't feel like I can answer this task. I can't do what you're doing for that spot of are you willing to risk it? It's like if I get the one bad match of what it was, and I told Tass, I literally sat for 30 minutes fighting on a Jabba fight. Like, do I or don't I? Because I do this happened and I've had my horror story. It's like, what is my answer for that? And I ought to lose.
Mm-hmm.
so I just dropped the link into the. It was February 4th, season 62. Yeah, 5v5, and yeah, I used Great Mothers, and it took 5 minutes and 6 seconds, but it was a one shot. Like,
Okay, that's kind of
if
neat.
anybody is going to be comfortable coming down to the wire in a tough match, it's Fatal. So you're the last person I would hesitate to say this thing is going to cause blood
This
pressure
is the
issues.
fight you have to do with like 10 minutes
This
left
is
in the round.
so you say that and Fatal was literally commenting on his streams where it's like, man, these fights are actually taking a long time. And you know
Yeah.
Fatal's telling you that because he lives on the whim of boom, 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 fight, fight, fight. And he's like, man, these are actually taking a long time for me to do now. And this is not the same
Yeah.
thing.
Well, that's the nature.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know if it's fair to say that we are in a super team meta, but I think myself and a lot of people are trying to play as if it is and just seeing how it sits.
Yeah.
And these fights are fucking crunchy. They're lasting like 3 or 4 minutes
Yeah.
per fight
Yeah.
for like 4 consecutive
fights.
fights, and it's just like,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yes. But
Right.
that was me because I had to fight a Fatal match that way in my round 3. And the dude was trying to beat me out. I had him on points, but yes, every fight was 4 minutes and 5 seconds. And I'm like, I'll just take less banners, but I'm still gonna get it. But yes, and it felt just like that.
But why
Right.
this week has felt so fun is because it feels like the fights require some amount of babysitting.
Yeah.
Right,
Sure.
you have to pay attention, and you have to and this is going to lead right into the next topic, Taz. Don't worry, because one of the things that I know that that I've started to try to look for is opportunities to use things like Saw versus QA, because I watched somebody fail with Great Mothers versus QA, and if I reserved Great Mothers for QA and failed, I'd be pissed. I'd be upsetty spaghetti over that. You know what I mean? Saved a meta team and got pile driven.
So
Um,
I'll tell you my Great Mother thought, and this may be relevant to you, Fatal, although in most cases it wouldn't because you've got other tactics here that you've frankly patented. But what I did going in, and normally I wouldn't say this because whoever I'm playing is probably listening to this, but I wanted to pull my Great Mothers for this week, and I have everybody in the top bracket has pretty much been setting. God damn it! Now, Task. This is. I realize when I say
That's
this,
right. Yes.
That's right. I'm lurking. I'm
That
right here.
motherfucker's taking
All
notes.
right,
I'll be honest with you, though.
content over competition.
I'll
Here's
be
what I'm
honest
doing.
with you. I was going to
Yeah.
pay attention in this segment whether or not we were in the same bracket.
We are in the same bracket.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Should I just go ahead and say what I was going to do, or no?
I do
Listen,
like the content
you
package.
know,
Fatal outed himself. I encourage you to out yourself.
All right. So for the heck of it, so I won't use it against you, probably, Tass, or maybe I will keep you guessing. But I have I jacked up the tenacity on my Knights Trooper, my DTP, and my
awesome.
Spirit, and I have a high tenacity DC, that I am confident will eat through a Hut Cartel level 6 of any way, shape, or form. So
Oh, I see what you're doing. Oh, yeah. See that?
only Java lands
speaks.
debts. Nobody else does.
Yeah.
And it you eat through Chrysanthemum pretty quickly because you've got Doomed on him, and you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through that. So anyway, I think I probably just ruined it. But anyway, that was my thought.
I like
Like
it.
No, I
it did
liked it.
require getting tenacity post. So you have the base tenacity of the character. You get 30% tenacity from Great Mother Lead. You get 30% from Morgan Unique. Plus, let's say a tidy 185% from a just very naturally rolled Datacron, for a combined tenacity minimum of like 330, I think, across, or
Don't
325.
worry, Sasha.
Monsters.
No one who you'll ever fight listens to this program.
Right. Right. At all.
They might be on it, but they don't listen.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, that was the thought. But Fatal, you've got like 20 different better strategies to take out Java. But that was my thought.
That sounds
I
like a
think-
good one for good banners, at least.
That's
And
my
good
point.
banner
That-
to be fair, good banner answers to Java are in high demand.
That's
banner
the
answers.
key.
My
That
my,
to
o-
me.
my only option was Afra, and if the Afra fight was starting to look questionable, I was just fighting bullets. The hidden strategy.
But I think I just want to comment that the answer is that key word, good banners, right? Those pieces of like, this team is going to pull and it can come down to the fight right now this week, even with the super teams of this got me my 64. Guess what I won by? 2 points because somebody went to a 60 to a 62 on my Java and I 64'd yours. I win.
I
that
expect
can
people to be a
that.
lot more efficient this week because
Yeah.
there's a handful of new fights I've been seeing people learn, and I expect them to be far more proficient and efficient at those fights next week. So the gap for fucking up, like I can't be limping out of my Java fights with a 58 anymore.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. Next item. I called this for Queen Amidala. I guess I'll mention that. Here, let me show you guys. As a defense, he held Great Mothers.
Also,
Yeah.
did you get my message, Cass?
Yeah, I did. But
Okay,
yeah, so
sorry.
this was surprising. Because that was pretty locked. But yeah, this comp worked well last season for me, so I said it. And the cron that I chose was, a decent amount of offense. I wonder how important the health was, though.
I did a bulk C3PO cron with Cam, so I think that the bulk is, I think it's important, especially against Great Mothers, if Spirit doesn't get that one shot. Like when I was doing this in threes, I know that the only times I ever struggled is when Pow resisted. I shouldn't say resisted. When Pow didn't get one shot. If he got left in like the red or the low yellow, he would just heal right back up, and then you'd have to start your cycle all over again of trying to set up that one shot. And I'm not sure if it plays quite the same way in fives, but I imagine that it plays similarly in fives.
That Amidala team is delicious gas food.
Yeah,
Gas
no
station.
doubt. And I remember when I fought him last season, Arsenal, I think I set Cam Mace and he used gas and that ate up his gas. Like, I enjoyed rotating a couple characters in this team last season. So I'm still thinking she's mostly down for me for week 2. I wanted to mention, though, when fighting this team, really enjoyed having Saw on offense. There are a number of matchups now where Saw works just peachy, the Smuggler Cron being the most obvious, wherever you should happen to see that. But I also like that since you're keeping Krex available and Luthen, I didn't need to, but I like that I have the option to pivot to either Mon Mothma or even Phoenix, having Krex available for offense. So I really like that Swiss Army knife feel of it, and Saw was getting chewed up by CLS last season unless you took Krex, and then it was a little more costly, but not too much more. I want to say you could still gas that, something like that. I don't know.
I really like knowing that if I save Saw, I have access to 3 teams. And like you said, it was one of those where like, all right, if you set Riva, I have an answer because I have Phoenix. And if I use Krex there, I still have a worse but still functional Mon Mothma or Saw team. because I have Luthen. So yeah, like you said, I really, and I didn't get to saw any QAs because people have kind of pulled it because they see people being able to saw it. I'm not saying everyone will, but the people who are more cheesy have been pulling it, right? The people who set lighter, they don't want you to be able to trade a bad team for good banners for their good team, and it has done some good stuff on offense. So, I mean, like, I'm not here to judge if people want to do that. But yeah, I really do agree with you with the flexibility of the pieces on offense. It does give me peace of mind as well, knowing that I have an extra Lord Vader counter.
Fair.
I just doubled down. I'm so pissed at myself that I didn't do this like 7 weeks ago. But yeah, I got Amidala holds all 3 rounds, and I'm a fucking idiot. So it took me this long to remember to figure it out. But I was already in on Grandmaster Yoda, and Grandmaster Yoda Relic 9 really abuses this current Datacron set. So I'm kind of just in for the money.
GMY
So
R9 is actually a good choice anyways. He's so squishy, give me a little extra bulk, a little bit extra offense.
Yeah, you get the like 10k health converted to like 2,000 offense on with Cam in the squad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I held against Great Mothers. I got multiple holds against Gas, like hard holds.
There's a hold against Seer that's on the screen right now.
Oh yeah, that too.
He's like, oh, that one wasn't impressive. I didn't care about
that
that
is nice. That is nice. I like it.
So did you see multiple holds against Gas? Because that's the thing that scares me with the GMY is all those buffs, but it worked against Gas for you, Fatal?
Not just Gas. Gas
Cam
crits.
giving Cam giving GMY and Master Qui-Gon the extra damage, plus having the armor shred and damage himself, really does threaten sitting Gas in a hurry, and actually threatens, the sides reasonably.
Yep. Padawan Obi-Wan is a joke until your Gas is sitting, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh Jesus, fuck, this guy ignores protection.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely like Cam on the team.
Yeah, there it is, just getting closed out. So see, you set this thinking, and you just said that this gets chewed up by Gas.
Oh no, my version specifically with the Orange Datacron with about that. That's C-3PO. You know how I said that I wasn't entirely mentally facultied?
Yeah, I recall.
Yeah. I posted a screenshot of the holds, and someone was like, "Oh, you're not doing Cam this round?" And I was just like, "Fuck." That man should not be gold necessarily. I'm just gonna put it that way, especially with that fucking Datacron. That's another thing I'm doing for this week. So Grandmaster Yoda is going to R9, and then if you understand the team and the scaling, crit damage is the absolute premium because it applies to both the health pool offense as well as the offense.
It hurts to nobody's business.
Wait, you were saying crit damage mods on Grandmaster?
Oh, dude, I've Grandmaster and Master Qui-Gon are both running the exact same mods.
I see.
So I have a Datacron that is like 30% crit chance, 30% crit damage, and I'm transitioning to that next week. I should have been on that again. I worked on this team for so much time last year, and then I just faded out, and I just wasn't thinking about it. Yeah, no, you can min max the fuck out of this team, and people do not understand how much damage that they can do. People, you are not. Master Qui-Gon with Cam and the team does 3 times the damage that Padawan Obi-Wan does, and that's not an exaggeration. And with Grandmaster Yoda in the squad, also modded similarly. I don't know if it's going to be exactly that high, but it's sure not going to be far off either.
But when you can't touch them because of the damn foresight or whatever else is doing to the fight, and you're just sitting there while your team is just fading away. So yes, but just add mechanics, Fatal, to what you're saying as well. Of, by the way, you'll never get to touch the team, and also you're dead.
I don't entirely know how I beat Gas Crux with a debuffer without the extra offense. So this hold was very funny to me.
A very serious Datacron for it too. I would have thought this would have been a lock.
Well, I mean, even if Cam wasn't present juicing the offense, my Master Qui-Gon is still built to throw hands. So I guess And my Yoda was too, for what that's worth. So like they were missing a solid chunk of offense, but I guess it's still the principle is still there. But yeah, we talk about with the light side Bulkron, that's a huge spike to their offense. And then you talk about that coming in a set where you simultaneously have access to crit chance and crit damage on the stats. It's just extremely gross. So
I like it. All right. Appreciate that one, guys. Next up, this is very popular team this week. I enjoyed this. I have it written as Karth, but I guess the important thing to talk about is, Zalbar, Omicron in 5 versus 5.
Don't set the team.
Yes. So as far as
It gets
Karth,
beaten by Night Sisters, Maul, Iden. Don't set the team.
yeah, Karth drew, I had folks that were saving a couple decent teams that they had left over. So I had somebody use, Gungans on it, Queen Amidala in another match. But the point is, it didn't really do anything interesting defensively. I'm sure everybody's already aware of the Karth versus Gas working out. I don't know what other cool matchups, perhaps trades, value trades that you can do on offense there, but that seems likely where the value is if you're determined to do Karth lead. Otherwise, I have heard and seen and am very interested in trying for myself the wonders of Tarful, right? Tarful, Zalbar, Han, Chewie, and fifth of your choice. Some have done Vandor, some have done Mission. But it's been nasty. I've been seeing great screenshots from people. Just this was before they had history or anything, so it was a little earlier in the week.
Yeah,
but
it beats
Good
Gungans.
set.
No, it doesn't beat Gungans. I lied. It beats GG. It doesn't really beat Gas.
we're talking about Karth on offense first.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay.
It's doesn't really beat. There's 4 battles. It won 2 of them. I would not rely on that.
I
It beats
set.
Beck. It beats Qui-Gon. Sorry.
No, no, no. I'm a fan of the Wookiees. I know we went through this before, but with that Zalbar Ami, and so I set a couple of iterations. Set one a full Wookiees, and then if you look at my match with Aesop, I switched it around to one that I thought was just, I don't know, a little fun, and went Smuggler with a Nest Cron, and Nest is the 5th instead of Chewie. And the first one I set the original Chewie as the 5th. Which the nice thing is, it it prevents crits on Tarful, but the Smuggler Cron it drew Treya, but it was able to kill. I think what did it get?
Got his Talon. Yeah,
got his Talon. So there's something to it. Not saying it's a world beater, but there's some meaningful survivability plus the frustration of the dodge on level 6 if you don't have something putting debuffs up.
makes sense.
Yeah, the only cheap thing beating Tarful is Zori. Other than that, it's like Star Killer, Afra for Bad Banners, Treya, JML, Lord Vader, QA.
I'm looking at data for Tarful, and I'm seeing Bad Batch winning, CLS winning, Zori winning.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I have it filtered by R7, and the only filter I have is Tarful lead with Zalbar Omi. So
Now-
Tarful Zalbar with Omi,
Yeah.
Kyra 1, Division 1, minimum relic 7.
Is that setting like Han and Chewie in there in those comps that you're seeing just getting dusted out? Because I did see a pretty strong pattern of Tarful, Zalbar, Han, Chewie +1.
Yeah, here, let me just post what I was looking at, and you tell me what you're, I guess. Yeah, this is what I was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
10 fights total. It's not like it's a large sample size, but
Sure.
no holds. All it is R7 plus Tarful lead with Zalbar Omi.
Yeah, there. Not a lot of this was getting fought. 7. Yeah. We're not going to have a lot of data here to look.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, this looks solid, is I guess what I'm trying to say. If Zori's the cheapest thing that works, and I'm sure that that's not 100%, considering that this Wookiee team could be much better by adding a Han Solo or a
Mhm.
Vet Han. So,
Yeah, I think this is where I'll be interested in trying this on defense if I'm so inclined. But yeah, if you're doing Fatal's sort of heavier defensive style, this probably doesn't have a spot for you. Any other thoughts on Karth, powerful Zalbar. Maybe there's applications you guys thought of this week for Zalbar, or you've heard of, seen that are outside of this
I want to
conception.
try Zalbar on Ray.
Yeah,
Elbar and Ray and teams like that are the only place that makes sense to me. Card seems bait. Tarful seems bait.
mm-hmm.
Balin's
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah.
I think having a perma taunt that counterattacks in perpetuity, immune to day. Wait, no, the immunity to days is only on the Karth team.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
Wait, is it also true for the expose?
Let me see.
Yes.
Oh Jesus
I
fuck!
believe so.
It's so bad at Tarful. That Jesus, you're gonna die to CLS. Do not.
I'll
sorry.
say that
That's why
one
Nest
of
is there.
Jade.
I like it.
Jade set the Zalbar on the Balin team against Zareth and watched the fight, and it looks cool, but I wouldn't put it there. The Ray is interesting, but just watching what happened with the Balin team, it's cute, but I think that's a waste of your Balin, in my opinion.
I think Zalbar and Ray, the synergy is not hard, but their game plans are similar enough that I do think that they seem kind of kindred spirits right now. I mean, you could use Zalbar and Ahsoka for like the anti-stealth if you're just trying to slam the door in Magma for 2 war weeks, but I don't know if that's
the
all
only,
I really.
the only line. Yeah, sorry.
No, all I really care about for my Ahsoka is like, hey, please Leia this. Thanks in advance.
Yeah, the only line of text you get under Ray outside of his like base unique, which is the 25 CA and the prot for the dots, is he gains retribution and taunts for 1 turn at the start of battle. Whenever he loses retribution or taunt, he regains it. Whenever he attacks out of turn, inflict a dot for 2 turns on all enemies which can't be evaded or resisted. Enemies with defense up. Enemies can't gain defense up or stealth. So
Yeah, CLS will fucking mow Tarful.
yeah, I don't see a lot of value to Tarful, especially if that Zori thing holds any water too. Like, if I get to use a team I wasn't otherwise using to beat a team that you're setting on defense, yay.
Fair.
It's the same reason with Karth being able to get Idened. It's like I'm just not a fan of setting a team that my opponent can use something they weren't planning to use.
I get why people want the novelty, but I'm not gonna say it's worth of its thought.
Yeah. Fair. All right, guys. Last but not least, in meta-analysis, you know, we couldn't do it justice to not talk about Bam Sana, right? So on defense, for me, he got 1 shot in 1 round and then took 5 attacks to clear on the other round. Didn't feel like I was missing the offensive power specifically, except where I wanted to do BKM and wished I had Bam to take on Gungans, because I didn't think, something tells me, as tough as that's been historically for me to A, win, and B, get the 65. Yeah, I didn't want to attempt BKM without Bam. So what you guys say about Bam Sana? How'd you use him? Anything interesting? You know, what you got?
Can you pull up my JML versus Sana that you streamed?
Yes. Give me a sec.
While you're doing it, I kind of, obviously the Ano video out there, but it's like it was my quick Java. I'm done with the fight. I'll take my 30 seconds and get like a 60 to 62, whatever it's going to be, because it was still okay banners, and I'll just take the 5-second log.
Yeah.
Or like, and that's what it was for me. It's like where Dagger's like, I'm not going to give you the ability to do this. It's like, yeah, it's fair, but that was also the point where like, well, if Africa's going to do a thing, it doesn't matter.
All right. Well, let's have a look at this fight on screen.
This would have been my fight of the week.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Because it was bad. It was very bad. I'm basically explaining that I can't AoE because they have buffs and I can't hit them. Although it might have been better to do that just for the turn meter. Yeah, this was. Oh, it gets better. It gets better.
I think I missed this one, but yeah, it's like I can see what you're going for. Yeah.
Yeah, and then here I am stuck, and here.
That's so bad too, to force the DI and have the mark on it.
I think you actually
kicked out of existence by Kira.
Yeah, that too.
So isn't this the class? There was some matchup years ago where this happened. You have to not cooldown increase Bam. I mean,
Yeah.
you might still be cooked here regardless,
Yeah.
but you would at least prevent the bird stance.
Right,
You'd
because
probably
then at
get
least if he
fucking
got a
red
turn,
anyway.
he would go into poop stance, and then you could kill him because there's no, Bam level 9 that saves him from dying while he's in the poop stance. So yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. And then I used GG to pick it up. I just had to pick it apart. Thankfully, I ended
sense,
up winning because my opponent got hoed out on. I forget what he got hoed out on, but he got completely hoed out. Oh, that's right, QA. He tried Bane and got his Bane just like blown the fuck up by Cam.
It makes sense because I know the one that DTMG feels like the hero, but GG feels like the hero right now. It's like, oh man, my GL died. Well, thank God for the debuffs of GG taking it out, and GG becomes the GL. That feels really relevant right now on some of these teams that will punish the shit out of you if you make the one mistake that allows your team just to get just manhandled.
Yeah, and I admittedly said during that stream that I used the DTMG up front versus Qui-Gon,
And
because I thought that JML was going to work if I saw us on the team. And yeah, I should have done it the other way around, obviously. But I thought saving JML was going to be more valuable in the long run because obviously GL greater than non-GL team in theory.
mhm.
But no, that was clearly not the case, as you saw.
Other notes from you guys on the applications of Bam Sana.
Don't set Leia.
No. Yeah, I mean it ate through Leia, and it seems pretty vulnerable on D.
Yeah. I think it's a very solid team on D though, because it has very few things I think that like consistently beat it for good banners.
I feel like it gives your calling to DTMG. I feel like he is in a key spot right now because it's not only that it's a good killer for the Bam Sana, it's that it's good banners. And that when you get something like this where there's limited options to what you're going to use, but get the good banners as well, feels like a great pull and a great thing to make note of.
I think
Sure.
that there are some versions of like Han Chewie Sana teams that are much nastier. So yeah, also like that Sana like Datacron like ramps their offense so fucking fast because of Bam lead. Right? Because whenever she gains turn meter, she gives 25% offense stacking or something like that. And then Bam says whenever you deal damage, you gain turn meter. So it's like if you were using Han and Chewie, for example, that's just casually what? 100% offense to your whole team because Chewie hits, then does health percent damage and Han double taps. So that's 8% TM to your whole team and 100% offense for the follow-up.
Fair.
So just kind of spitballing. I haven't looked any of this up on Insight, but if I were to set something like that, I would try to set the most prohibitive offensive comp I could. It'd be like Bam Sana dash Han Chewie.
That feels like the standard staple of like the where you want it to be. Obviously, the Honda was nice in there with what you face, Dagger, but it's true that much power coming that fast at you, and then just that opening, right? Those first 4 moves, somebody's probably dead if you're not taking the right setup. So it's like DTMG coming in and being able to take the punish and then reheal, and it's like boom, we're safe, and they're applying debuffs.
Yeah, honorable mention. No, please go ahead, Dagger.
All right, the Hondo thing reminded me. I'm going to try 4-manning Ray next week with Balin Trio plus Hondo, because Hondo can lock down Ezra, and then the whole team disappears.
I just want to note that it can go bad quickly on the return as well, where you think you're good, and then Ezra says, "You locked me for a second, but I'm back," and your team is gone. And
I mean, the trick is to not have Ezra take a turn because he dies.
yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, but I wanted to give a quick honorable mention as well to DTMG. Of course, solving the Bam Sana team on defense, among any number of other things. If you're putting Marin in to your Great Mother's team on defense, then you're going to end up having Night Trooper left over. And while most people, when they're running DTMG on offense, are going to run Enoch, I found that, at least in the specific case of Bam Sana, Enoch wasn't going to make any difference, I thought. And so I brought Night Trooper in both attempts where I did that fight. And It was a stomp. I don't know that he was a determinant, but I gotta say, like Enoch, I didn't have any debuffs that needed cleansing. The threat from that team is really true damage, so Enoch isn't gonna really save you.
I want to counter
If it's
your
Han
honorable
Chewie-
mention.
If it is Han Chewie, I do like having Enoch there.
Okay, sure. I don't think
Because his crit avoidance matters before Gideon puts down his debuff.
This
Because
is
if Han and Chewie are there, they shoot first.
I think
And
you're
if they
right.
shoot Gideon,
Mhm.
sorry, I was just saying if they shoot Gideon, that's a
so.
wrap. It could be a
So
wrap.
as obviously we're going long winded. I did want to call one thing out that I thought was awesome is a use for Nest and how it stopped D Team G.
Mhm.
To me is a very big thing. So my round 3, and I didn't know if I was going to mention this or not because I'm probably going to reset this, but setting the resistance team with Zori, with Nest and the smuggler setup, pummeled that D Team G team. So that to me is a very great place that if I can pull your D Team G, knowing what it can take, felt pretty solid. And you can see how fast it turned around to pummel what I would consider.
I don't know how much Nest mattered there. I'm gonna be honest with you.
But D Team G should be taking Resistance Zori out, no problem. In my opinion.
I've struggled with that in the past though, because I remember thinking this should be a lock, and then it was definitely not a lock.
Yeah,
I mean, they got enough
I don't think that
exposed to pop your dudes, like Enoch or no Enoch.
Yeah. I just don't know how much Nest played into that because that fight was relatively quick.
Well, whatever. It's
I just
already-
want to call it.
Nest. I'd have to see. I'd have to see how
To
the fight
me,
played out.
to pull something like that, and I figure I would call D Team G and GG right now a very good, safe bet for a lot of these. I'm trying to be cute.
Yeah.
Let me stop the cuteness. That feels good when you've seen that Bam Son is being beat out by D Team G. So that's the only reason I'm just bringing up some of the honorable mentions because I feel like there's like I said, as we've said, it's a lot to unpack this week. So.
Fair.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
This was a
guys,
fun
meta-analysis had a lot to cover. So, I think instead of the normal, favorite attack and defense for each of us, I just want to give us an opportunity here to mention any other teams that we didn't cover that should make the cut. Because it was, again, I know Dagger said this, I'm sure we've all thought this, but this is a very active brain power week, right? There was a lot of thinking involved. So I can appreciate there might have been a team or two that didn't make the list. Do you have anything you wanted to add? And if not, we'll move over towards wrapping up so we can get out in a reasonable amount of time.
I will say the Trail Lord Vader team underperformed for me this week, and I think it underperformed my expectations watching other people fight it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that information, but it did feel like it underperformed.
I would
I
go
watched
look
the
at
patrons both like cheaply dispatch of the other ones.
I would say that.
I'm not claiming JML is cheap. I'm just saying that JML is not one of the most expensive teams.
I watched
And
Fatal
again,
streams and I saw Treya being a King Staple. What would you? I mean, but again, this is heavy Fatal, but that Treya LV seemed like it was a. I think it's all just depending.
I'm checking my defense right now.
I just remember seeing you on it, and I was watching. He's like, "Did my Treya hold?" I remember specifically what you were saying.
Yeah,
and
those
like,
guys tried BKM. I mean, that's what this is mostly meant to threaten, right? So
yeah.
It's trying to slam the door shut on BKM.
Yeah.
It's really just trying to slam the door shut on most non-GLs, or at least like if you're going to try it on GL, then
that was my. I mean, I faced it all week, and it was like that's where I'm putting my Bane. I'll take my 65 for the Bane there, just because you don't have to worry about the fight on it. But it's like it's still. You don't get to just disrespect it. I'm not saying that what.
Look at this. Look at this. This is Fatal's round 3. Look at this business now.
It's just true, but also Fatal does have very good
into Lord Vader, into Fennec, into Reva, and all that said, got it all the way down to Lord Vader before throwing in a towel.
Okay, maybe, man. See, that's the thing.
Well, it looks like I saw your round. You just need to draw JMK somewhere.
The thing that I will say is
your patrons JML'd each other.
the thing that I will say is I tend to build talented Treya more aggressively. So I don't know if that adds any saucier at all. That
that's the sauce I wanted to add for you is the fact that you have had the thing of legends where your Treya was killing LV. So I would call your modding, that would be a variable. But like I said, you have good relics and other things in there. But it's like, I'm still just pointing out that not all of us had the luck or the setup that it did. It's still a formidable team in the right hands, and it can still put the work in to where you don't get to be disrespecting it, and it's going to either eat up a good counter and or make you and keep you locked down. What you see here.
It takes the investment to be sure, but if you could just get to a point where, I effectively have kept them on kind of the same mods ever since the LV counter, and then kind of 3v3 with cutting Nihilus and having them both just being on damage. Whether or not you're posting them on defense, even if you're running them on offense, having Treya deal, basically just one-shot somebody with her first special, it's a pretty nice thing to have. And people clown on Talon's damage, but don't clown on something that you're not like putting your elbow grease on, because she does do damage.
Now, what do you think that mark looks like for her in our neck of the woods? Would you, I know with a lot of effort you can push her up to or above perhaps 13k special offense.
Really, the hard part here is crit chance secondaries and ideally crit damage triangle on both of them.
Okay. Yeah. That would be tough, yeah.
Yeah, it's specialized mods, but this has been ramping up on more and more characters for me. I'm doing it on Master Qui-Gon, I'm doing it on Grandmaster Yoda.
Yeah.
Was it 2024 or 2023 was the year of crit chance, and it is only kind of continued to be a thing. So, yeah, I think if you're able to tap into it, we have these hyper investment special damage dealers that need the extra help, but if you can give it to them, you really do feel the end results.
Fair.
I think you call it perfectly, just to call it super team. This screams super team. It is, so it's like, there you go.
So that's really all this season has been so far, is just trying to make teams like, really the strategy or the philosophy behind this is just try to increase the bar significantly, that even squads like Malgus are kind of getting boxed out, and your options are super limited, but you're hoping that your opponent's options are limited as well.
Limiter. All right.
If no one else has a team, I'm curious to see, because I don't believe I got an answer to this. Is there more value to keeping the Bad Batch team the way it is, or are you next week trying to create, like Super Team mentioned, putting the Bad Batch with Balin? I know Fatal answered it for himself, but I'm curious to what the rest of the people think about the value there, because I personally lean towards the data this last week shows that pretty much only GLs are doing well versus the new Bad Batch team. So it's just trying to figure out the right 5th or 4th and 5th, as opposed to the Balin team is also prohibitive, but they're both technically prohibitive. So it's like... Right.
No. I'm just saying, if you look at my screen here, I feel like I think all of us had some level of performance. Now, you could say that it was just week one testing things out, but all of us had some level of performance out of Fugitive Omega. And I'm inclined to keep that. I am inclined to try the Echo thing, because I kept it the pure new Bad Batch team with Batcher. I didn't really even experiment with that, so I feel like I have incentive to do that. And then when I see that, look how well L3 and Hondo did for me here against Bane and JML. What else? Did he try anything else? I think he threw in after just those two on that. But it's, he set a decent defense on me. He didn't have a ton of tries to be able to get through that. But I feel kind of what you're saying. Like, I'm not feeling the pull for it. Like, I did get caught out by the super team. Not saying it's bad. I just feel like footprint wise, I'm thinking the Fugitive Omega team offers more challenge than a lot of the other competing options for the same board space.
I'm going to call it depends, because I saw what Fatal did, and him putting different mixtures of some good relic OG Bad Batch under that. And if you look, I really wasn't seeing where we had to have the mercs there. So I'm not calling that the right answer. I'm not calling it the wrong. I feel like it's going to be... It depends specifically for me on who I see and what they're using. Because if they have the right answer where it doesn't matter what I'm going to set, then I don't see a reason to go all in just for them to top it off for something that I know is going to kill it. 4 good banners.
You don't necessarily have to package deal them either. You could go Hunter without Wrecker. You could go
true.
Sana. Like Balin has a few options available to him right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought. Like, obviously, it depends on what your opponent's going to use, but like,
Yeah.
if we're trying to create the most robust defense possible in a vacuum, do you think it ends? Do you think that includes both of these? Well, either one of the. If you're only going to set, does it include both of these teams? These teams combined, one of these teams, like Fatal said, which piece are you pulling off of Bad Batch if you're putting like Hunter on the mercenary team just to activate the? How does that team look if you're pulling Hunter? Like, are you putting Omega, old school Omega, and Echo in, or are you putting double Wrecker plus Echo? Like, what does that team look like, Fatal, if you're pulling Hunter off of the new Bad Batch team?
So Hunter is there with his Datacron as kind of the aggressive starter to kick the Balin TM train off extra early. That just helps the team put on a lot of pressure. Wrecker is largely there for the defense on his unique, in my opinion. I don't think he adds too much. I mean, I think he's a pre-taunt or whatever, but like,
Yeah.
You know, like he's got a disarm. I'm not discounting his kit, but I think for the role that he largely serves, it's his own stacking defense to himself as well as the defense that he drives to the team. Just helps bulwark a bit, helps make the team more annoying to kill. So there's a world where you could like only run a Hunter because you're like, well, I'll just try to stay aggressive or whatever. I'm sure there's like, if you do inside research and like look at various things, you could probably see. I think Sada favored slightly better than Hunter in terms of non-GL matchup tables. But that's just a question of cost. I haven't really used Sana in any legitimate way for the Sana BAM stuff, so I don't really mind spending Sana.
I mean, the reason I'm bringing up some of this is I just respect out my Drogon. So my Leia's been punching down all last week. Like, it was just kicking the crap out of like whatever shitter team that was left. And I wouldn't mind assigning it to Rays, which would free up my Balin to rotate to defense. And that's why I'm asking this question. I mean, yeah, all my opponents that watch this, you're getting some free information out of me for my plans this week.
Honestly, I do think that we're kind of reaching a point defensively where we have a variety of multi-tool teams that I hesitate to say it, but there's actually probably some really good benefit out of like scouting and like adjusting your tool set.
Is that what we do here? I didn't know that Fatal using the S word.
I mean, I enjoyed scouting. It's just a fast track to burnout.
Fair. All right, well, guys, thank you. Really robust conversation today. There's so much to look forward to in this new week, but it is about time to wrap things up. Sasha, I know you had to get going here soon. I'd love for you to kick us off with your takeaways and final thoughts going into week 2.
Sure. Thanks, Bass. Appreciate it. I had actually, I'll put it into context because I was really kind of a bit worn down by the last 3v3 season, and at least my perception of state of the meta. And honestly, to a level where like I didn't engage much in the off week, and I came really close to not signing up for this week, like deliberately for the first week of this season, just saying, maybe I just need to take a week and refresh. And had a couple buddies ping me just like, hey, don't forget to sign up. And I'm like, yeah, what the heck, let's do it. I'm really glad I did. Like, I'm in a much better spot. I had fun. And that's not necessarily just about like the results of those matches, but like everything that we've just been talking about the last few moments here of like there's some really stimulating options, some room for creativity. And like a number of times, like I made decisions based on what I thought was going to be more fun than necessarily competitively advantageous. And like I didn't get punished for those, which was nice. And so like I'm in a sort of a bounce back, really good space at the moment. And as I look at like the next week coming up, and what I'm kind of like steeling myself for is like I love, and I think we all really enjoy the uncertainty and the variability, the unsolved attribute of the meta in the first week, and then that slowly gets solved as we progress. And I'm hoping that there are enough variables out there, enough tricks to be played in this current meta that this is going to last a couple more weeks, and I'm optimistic about that. So yeah, just like a good spot. And then I guess my sign off note will be: I really hope I get to play this week, Task. That would be just a ton of fun. It's been too long, my friend. So I think that would be great. And I guess the only thing I ask is make sure you set your job if you would. And yeah, looking forward to it.
We should have Fatal set both of your defenses.
You know what? That might be a chaos factor I could embrace.
Dude, that was so much fun.
We'll
when
see
Sasha
if Fatal
did
has
that
time
for
for
us.
something like that, if that should happen. But I got Zid in round
Oh.
1, so we'll see.
Fatal, do you know what we're referring to? By the way, there was a match that this is was it TJ you and Task,
me and Task, dude, and you set,
and they each let me set their defense for them.
dude.
and
That
then going
was
to that match.
such a pain in the ass,
was a
but it
goof.
was so, dude. It
Yeah.
was so good.
Sasha just set all the teams they wanted to use on offense on defense.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah,
Not that bad, but yeah. So Fatal, maybe at some point, if you're game, that would be fun. If some of the rest of us, not including you, face one another, that we let you go a mad scientist against all of us.
I'll have to think that there is there house rules. Is like, do both boards have to be symmetrical,
no,
or
no.
How do
we
you
can decide the
circumvent-
rules ahead of time. If and when this should happen, we can think of whatever we want if you're concerned about it. But like,
But how do you get ahead of the win trading allegation?
There is none.
Collusion.
You literally.
we all trust each other here. I mean,
I'm just looking. I'm fucking.
yeah. I ideally
It's a fun exercise.
Ideally, we would be able, like, you know, it would be great if you're also available, Fatal, when we actually do go live. But you would tell us in advance what we set it, and then if you're able to join us, great. But if not, we'll just trade fights on the front wall 1-for-1, basically. And then once the front walls are clear, we'll go 2Z, 3Z or something like that from there. But that it was fun. It's only one time we got to do that. We'd love to do it again.
It was
At some point down the line.
Yeah, the only real rule that I would put into place if it were to happen to me would be, I would prefer to be left with the tools to full clear and make me figure them out.
I do like the idea of playing for a full clear. I know Fatal would probably have us fight over just half of the map if he had his way. But
listen, Gom, I think, was the original heavy defense poster, and the thing that I will generally say is I draw the line. I do play to full clear and try to. Gom was
that was
a soft suggestion. That was not
that
a
dude.
priority.
That dude. I
Very
remember
fair.
facing Gom, and he was sports book.
The amount of times I watched
that.
that. Yeah, the amount of times I watched that dude, and he looked at his opponent's bottom front wall and said, "We're going to clear fleet."
I will say this though: if we go ahead and do this at some point in the future, we can't do it on Fatal's time frame because we will blow through the end of the round by the time we're done with Tass's intro.
There's no
because
way.
Fatal timing and Tass's intro do not jibe.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. That's right.
Starts on Wednesday
Completely
and
mutually
Wednesday,
exclusive.
Monday.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it would never work because if we waited late in the round to do it, then we're running afoul of Fatal. That final hour is his. We know.
Exactly.
Everyone knows.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
last 22 minutes of GAC is for his full clear.
Not now. It's 40 because he's got to do 4 minutes per fight.
Yeah,
I got to jump, everybody. Hey,
I'm
thanks.
actually
great,
making it up.
great conversation. Bye, you guys.
Yeah, take
Later.
care, Sasha.
Have a good one,
Appreciate you, man. Sorry, you were about to say something, Fatal?
I'm gonna make an effort to give myself some more time because. Well, listen, man. I was not entirely present in that first round, but I will say that the time pressure put me under pressure. That I was not in a position.
I was gonna say,
to handle.
if you watch Fatal's fight, when you know this man who knows how to do it, and it's still saying, "Damn, these are still taking me 3 to 4 minutes of fight," I really have. It's like, yes, that's what kind of game you know you're playing right now.
Fair. All right. Well, thank you for all of that, Sasha. It was a good wrap up there. Dagger, how about you? your lessons learned from this week and what you're looking forward to applying in week 2. Any other words, gems for the people?
Honestly, I think at this point, Sasha needs to start paying me rent because he basically took everything I was going to say.
All right. Dagger has no original thoughts of his own. You heard it here first. Let's go,
I
TJ.
normally get to go first, so I normally get to say this and have it be like, yeah, I echo what Dagger said, right? Like, no, but like, I had so much fun this week trying to puzzle out some of the stuff. I went 2-1. I had a bunch of fights. I streamed with Tash because I reached out to Tash and I'm like, I can do some of my GAC on your stream, and I was like, because I don't mind messing around because this week has been fun.
Yep. No, I enjoyed that. I hope we can do that again. Double features have been fun.
Some stuff, lost some stuff. I'm hoping that this next week is... I know it won't be as much fun because some of the stuff is solved, but as Sasha said, I hope that there's enough meaningful decisions through scouting and talking with, these gentlemen about what their plans are. I hope that there's enough decisions to be made where it feels like not only do I have autonomy and options, but that the fights that I'm going to be doing are fun. Because that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about this week the most. I've talked about it earlier, was a lot of these fights felt kind of, chunky. It felt like you had to pay attention. It felt like I was being rewarded for good decision making. I'm not saying I was making good decisions. I'm just saying I felt rewarded for taking the right team versus the right team, or taking a lesser counter but being able to punch it up because I played the fight correctly. I don't know. I really enjoyed that. I hope that continues next week. One of the things I'm looking forward to next week for sure is I remodeled a couple things, and I really, really want to try and make some of this stuff work. I'm not going to... I already gave anybody who listens and a look into what my plans are this week, so I'm not going to give all of it, but I have some stuff this week that I'm super excited to try based on .gg and insights. Because they gave us insights like a day early. So that means I got to do some remodding after like combing through history. And but my final thoughts would be what Fatal even alluded to, Mr. Burnout himself. It's almost like you get rewarded for scouting.
Wisdom. All right, appreciate you. TJ, how about you? Your takeaways from the last week, thoughts for the week to come, any other pearls of wisdom for the folks at home?
Yeah, for this one now, I alluded to it in the start, and I'm just going to go back to it. I really want to find the sweet spot of being uncomfortable with what my defense is doing and coming in with the just right. I feel like Cass, we spent a lot of time, again, I'm going to keep going back to this point. The three of us spent a lot of time coming up with what I would consider the sweet spot of the defense versus offense. Watched it on your stream go to perfection, what it was supposed to do. And it did it. And when you and I talked, I was unhappy with round 2 and got beat out by points because I let myself get to that. Went to round 3, gave myself, and that was, again, our 30-minute conversation of just a little bit of uncomfortable, but I was okay with where it was. And then this is what my round 3 was my favorite one, because it was such a sweet spot of my defense really worked. And I got myself into just an uncomfortable enough position where I still won, but it really taxed my opponent. That's where I want to get to this week again. And what Dagger talked about was fun. That was fun to me. And seeing that I could set a little heavier, not fatal. I'm not going into, let's not go crazy, but setting a little heavier and still come up with some good counters that were going to work, and watching and that paying off dividends for what it ended up being. So that's where I want to get to again this week. I'd like to get a little heavier on defense now, and maybe I get a little, little crazier to see where it gets to. But if I can get there, man, that is fun. And that's back to being a good GAC where we're not playing the efficiency game. And if I can make them be oppressed for what I get to do and I walk away on top, man, all the better.
All right. Good notes. Appreciate you. Fatal. Last but not least, how about you? Lessons learned from this last week. Thoughts for the week to come. Your final notes for everybody.
Playbook TV. It was a really fun week. I am going to be monitoring whether or not this is kind of a repeat of last season, where I really enjoyed the first week of last 3v3, and then everything got solved pretty quick, and it was there wasn't really a whole lot of extra things to try once the solution came out. I will say I don't think it's going to be exactly that case. I actually think that the momentum is shifting between 5v5 and 3v3, where I think 5v5's meta is getting healthier and 3v3's is getting less healthy. This whole super seed thing, I get the feeling that it might be a little bit too early. I don't think we're fully in it yet, but we're close enough that even just gesturing at it can like force that dynamic in some cases, or like catch some people out there. Like if you know the solution, then it might not actually be a good game plan at the moment. But for now, when it's not being known, you get that power, you get that the intimidation where it's just like I can't fucking clear this. To slightly part the kimono, a CG kit just came out. And CG has openly stated that they want Lord Vader to be pretty difficult to clear by anything that isn't a GL. So, if that vision comes to light, I imagine that will be another nice little block on the defense of trying to build up to a place where defense can stand strong and my offense is feeling it pretty damn badly right now. I know pretty rapidly whether or not I can clear. The answer is very often you cannot clear. But this to me is kind of the sign of a healthy 5v5 meta is I have sacrificed my own clear to try to cause them to sacrifice theirs, and that's the dynamic. It's not necessarily guaranteed that they can't clear, but if I'm a heavy poster and they're a light poster, then you expect that those things maybe balance out and even out. That it's sort of a balanced push and pull. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think 5v5 might be kind of back.
All right,
and,
good. I hope you're right.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Now, I kind of overtalked you just for a second there when you were plugging for your channel. Please let the folks know where they can find you again this week.
Twitch.tv/PlaybookTV.
Appreciate you. Okay, and for my part, I have to move between 2 or 3 defenses that were just weak, experimental. Rotations for position are for sure going to happen based on what I see my opponents using on offense last week. But I'd say, yeah, a good 3 or so of the squads are not going to be featured week 2 that were there week 1. Got to do some testing, and that was the intent. Very lucky to do that and still get the 3-0. So extremely grateful for that. But I've got what I needed to know, and some of these things aren't looking strong enough. Like Bam Sana, I threw Gungans back down. They just seem so amazing on offense this season, so probably not that again. Yeah, maybe not even a Karth or Tarful team, depending on who I'm fighting. Like, round 1, I have Zid. Zid's usually got enough material on offense where he can deal with a very heavy defense, so something like Tarful probably doesn't have a place. So as always, scout your opponent, look for their patterns. Playing the person is, for me, the way to play the game. Check that out. All right, and of course, if you, well, first of all, thanks to all my co-hosts for joining me here this evening. And yeah, if you're looking to catch me live, you can find me at twitch.tv/Tassinix. I also simulcast now on my YouTube channel whenever I do stream, so that's Tassinix Gaming, YouTube. Over on my YouTube channel, we do have a whole bunch of other Swugger-related content that I think you'd be interested in. Datacron set guide for set 20. I make that with Aesop Rock, the best Grand Arena player in the world, #1 ranked. I imagine we'll very soon be making a Datacron set guide video on the next set that is including these, what are they called? The enhanced Datacrons? Whatever they are. We'll be covering those, so look for those. We've got the mod guides on characters and factions that you have requested, the recent GAC Omicron tier list video, how to mod 1 and 2, the fundamentals to bring you on up from ground up to just maxed out mods, all that good stuff. All there on the channel. Anything you like there, please do give it a like if you enjoyed it, and hit subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Otherwise, yeah, the Plotting and Scheming podcast is repeated there to the YouTube, but of course, it is native to Spotify. Wherever you find an episode, though, check the description. There is a link that you can use to plug it in to your own favorite podcast program and follow us there. Otherwise, if you want to go above and beyond the Call of Duty and support the channel, there are a few ways to do that. I have a Cash App that is $Tassinix. My PayPal is tassinix@gmail.com. But if you want to get some enhanced scouting tools, early access to some of my content, including plotting and scheming, and, a dedicated, inner patron community that is full of, GAC madmen, you'll have to check out my Patreon. Patreon.com/Tassinix. That's the wrong slide, Tass. We'll get there in a moment. Check out patreon.com/Tassinix. For any Upper League Mobile Grand Arena player, there is something there of interest to you. At $5 a month, you enter the Tass House at VIP access level, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast, which is coming out Friday mornings, 8 a.m. to the general audience. My patrons are getting it as early as Tuesday night, within hours of us recording, so it'll give you an edge on that first round. In addition, early access to the Datacron set guide videos, and of course, dedicated, Patreon chat on Discord, text and voice. You will usually find me lurking in there, so pop on in and say hi. Thank you so much to Andrew, Banja, Deadpool Cow 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Johnny B. Ottawa, Miasmal, Mus Ross, Rays Malvis, Sam Vimes, Sheepdog 47, Shake 23501, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens 14, and White Wolf. Moving on up to the $10 a month tier is VIP Access Plus, where you get a bundled Patreon access to me and to Omegabot. At the start of every one of my streams, I have an Megabot report pulled on my opponent because no other tool gives you such a powerful at-a-glance sense of your opponent's offensive and defensive tendencies. Anybody can use it for free to look at their opponent's last week of history and generate a report, but patrons can make a custom report with any number of weeks. You get a downloadable HTML version with links that you can click that go right back into swugga.gg or Insight, helping you further drill down on those specific fights, saving you more time. Thank you so much to Dobby, Esh Sotnikam, Ploon, Snack Attack, and Striker. And moving on up to VIP Access Premium, that's $15 a month for the Double Bot Bundle. Some have said the greatest value bundle in all of Swugga, because you get a Patreon access to me, to Omegabot, and to Hot Utils, the #1 tool for your mass mod management and loadout creation. A couple clicks moves you between your Grand Arena, TB, Raid, and TW mods. You can remod your roster comprehensively as often as you like, just like Fatal and TJ do. You can slice through months of accrued mods in seconds, help out your guild with TW functionality, and a bunch of other odds and ends. Thank you so much to Argots, Arge, Duckstab, Dark Hug, Frick Frack Paddywhack, General Milan, Ibenek, Kev, Quig, Saldag, Sir Boss, Sophus, The Lost Womp Rat, Wilco, and Zoltre. And at the top of the heap, Ingesters Club Elite, the one, the only Nomad's Reaper. This madman pops in a stream from time to time and goes gangbusters, drops hundreds of subs, thousands of biddies, incredibly generous support over the years, because it's not like it was the first time he did it here just a couple weeks back. So thank you so much, man, for the incredible support. And of course, last but never least, our special thanks. First, to Yoda Force. One of my original supporters way back in the day bought me the mic I'm speaking to you on right now, and even though he's long since quit the game, we wish him well from the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for all you do in the background, whether it's supplying me with alcohol or coffee, whichever I seem to need more, or, just keeping our daughter from tearing our, home apart brick by brick while her father is distracted trying to be decent at a phone game. And of course, to my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming, Dagger, TJ, Sasha, Aisha, and Fatal. As always, gentlemen, it's a pleasure and a privilege to record our show together. I appreciate the hell out of you guys taking time every week to get this done. I know you're all busy, work and family-wise, but here we are, nearly 2 years in, still getting it done on a weekly basis. And I learn from you guys every week. Hopefully the feeling is mutual from time to time, but it's really about the audience. They're getting a lot out of the show. Lots of great conversations, question, engagement around that. We've all been more busy, perhaps, with DMs that come just from the conversations we have on this show. So thank you guys so much for being an integral part of the success here. All right, moving back over to the main scene. That wraps us up. It's going to be a fun week, too. Got to tighten things up. The weaker defenses got to go, but it should be still pretty fun. I imagine things will be well sorted for week 3, but I think there's still some surprises to pull out on folks. We'll see how that turns out. Look for my announcement on Discord for when I go live on Wednesday night. But until that time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.